Welcome back to the Bold Moves podcast. We are so glad that you're joining us for episode 18. We are glad to be here with you, and we are kicking off something new.
Our podcast is officially an adult.
It's an adult.
Oh, we're legal.
We can vote now. This is amazing.
You can vote, but you can't drink.
Lottery tickets
or rent a
went
car.
up, didn't they? Like, to
Ooh, that's
is
a
it
good question.
21 now?
I do not know the answer to that. We'll have to do some research on that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Enough for this.
But we're 18. Yep. 18 in. This is fantastic. Today, we're actually talking about a new series that we kicked off at Crossroads called Difficult People. Does anyone resonate with that in your life? Do you have any difficult people that you deal with from time to time?
No comment.
That's the wise thing to say. Do not bring up your in-laws right now, Kristen.
Not them.
I love it. And just to be clear, she never brought up her in-laws before. She loves them with all of her heart. Yeah, just a disclaimer.
Hey.
That was just fun for me to say. Yeah. Hey!
Thanks for watching.
I just lost one of our coveted viewers. No!
No, I love them. They're great. They're good people.
So we're kicking off this series recognizing that we all have difficult people in our lives. And the challenge is I have to still love them the way that Jesus loves me. Like I have to treat them the way that Jesus would. And so that's when we get tested, right? Like you talk about testing your faith and trying your patience. It's actually still trying to be like Jesus when people are just the worst. And let's just be real, that happens from time to time. And so in our world, like we're talking about the idea this week of the drama queen, that person being the difficult person. This is the person who is the gossip. This is the person who it's completely about them. They are totally self-centered. And there's really just no getting around that. They kind of are the worst from time to time.
Right.
Yeah. So who is that in your life? Who in your world do you think of when you think of the drama queen?
Well,
who is it?
Let me explain this and see if you can come up with who I'm talking about.
Okay, gotcha.
So there's, let's just say this is a famous athlete.
Famous athlete
Who plays one of the big sports that people watch on TV. And this
Soccer?
Athlete... Not in this country. Soccer. You want to talk about soccer? Man,
they flop all
you're
the
talking
time.
about floppers. Well, you know where I'm going now. We're talking about floppers.
Yeah.
It's LeBron James.
It's LeBron James.
Holy smokes.
He could play soccer with that level of flop. Yes.
Breathe on that man, and he's sprawled out on the floor, acting like you just ended his life.
That's the best. The best clips of him are when he's complaining, like whining to the official, and he just doesn't play defense. Like whoever he was supposed to be guarding just goes down and scores a layup because he's arguing with the referee. Like, dude, get it together. That's why you'll never be considered the GOAT. It will always be Michael Jordan.
Boy, you want to talk about drama? Let's talk about those online conversations between Michael Jordan versus LeBron James.
Oh, that's also drama.
Man.
Yeah.
Just
that's
stay out of
hilarious.
that.
Okay, good. LeBron James, there it is. That's the famous celebrity that we say that's the drama queen. That's hilarious. Kristen, what do you got?
I wouldn't consider myself a Swiftie, but I think Taylor Swift is kind of a drama queen.
That makes sense. Every album. Yeah.
Although, she kind of pulls you into her drama because you better believe, I'll Google and see, who's this song about?
Oh, that's hilarious. So it starts a whole movement based on the gossip and the drama and the self-centeredness. Yeah.
I mean, some of the songs they're bops, but
they're bops. That's fantastic. Thank you for that.
But we love the drama, don't we? As a
it
culture,
sells, right?
Yeah.
We consume it at such a high
reality
level.
TV, social media, it's everywhere.
I love my wife, but we have to watch The Bachelor. By we, I mean her. It's just her. I'm not part of that.
Even though you finish those episodes when she's not there, I need to see what happens.
It's fun to watch my husband say he doesn't like it,
but he's still kind of side-eyeing it.
Wait, what? I thought that, and it was yeah.
We want to be in the know, right? We want to know the inside scoop, all the gossip, and so it's one of those traps that you fall into, and it's wild because we don't think about it, I think, often enough, but when we allow ourselves to fall into that trap of being the drama queen, man, when you fall into the trap of being that one who's gossiping, or you realize, I'm making this all about me, it's an easy trap to fall into, and that's not the side of the coin you want to be on. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to be somebody else's difficult person. So if you're trying to figure out, who in my friend group is the difficult person? If you don't know, it's probably you, right? This is where it gets tough, though. I want to read this Bible verse, Matthew 5:11. Jesus is going through the Beatitudes. I mean, these are key principles that he's bringing out in the Sermon on the Mount. And he says this, Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, lie, and say all kinds of evil things about you because of me. He says, rejoice and be glad because you have a great reward in heaven. It's like, oh, that's exactly the opposite of how I want to respond when someone is being the worst, when someone is being a really difficult person. It's all drama, it's all gossip, and I'm on the wrong side of that. Like that will try your patience. That's not easy. And so those are the moments we're talking about. It's like, how do I navigate life when I'm dealing with a difficult person? And all of that is directed at me. That's not easy. And sometimes the boldest move you can make in those situations is I'm going to be like Jesus. Even though every piece of me wants to respond, I want to get even. It's no, I'm going to be like Jesus. And so that's really hard. Now, this is a series. It's a reboot of one we did about 7 years ago. And we also talked about the dynamics of the drama queen. 7 years ago, this idea was accompanied by what I would consider a fairly classic music video. I don't know if you guys are aware of this or have seen this before.
I was around 7 years ago.
So was Corey. He was part of this video, and so was I. Yeah. So I think, honestly, to set up the topic of the day, we should take a minute and 40 seconds and really enjoy what is a legendary and epic rendition of a song called Drama Queen.
All right, here
enjoy.
We go.
Don't shoot me down. Oh no, how low can you go? You're so dramatic. You're so dramatic. Driving fast to get to work. Queen is there just being a jerk, running her mouth 1,000,000 miles an hour. She's talking trash, it's going sour. That stuff that makes you hurt, cut you down, make you hit the dirt. Say, she's got that diva thing, that D-I-V-A diva thing. Say, why can't you say you're sorry for treating me so naughty? Just want an apology, is that against your personal theology? But I did to deserve it, how'd I get on your bad list? Just want to make it right. Please, Queen, please, let's not fight.
Let's not fight, let's not fight. I don't wanna fight tonight. You had your chance to right your wrong. Can't we all just get along?
You go and talk behind my back. Don't you know that's whack? It's a personal attack. Oh, snap. Some friend you want to meet your miss personality. Are you blind to see you're such a drama queen? You're so dramatic. You're so dramatic.
Well, that is a video. I guess all I have to say to the internet is you're welcome. How about that?
How about that?
Yeah.
7 years ago.
Have you ever had a mullet?
Have I ever had a mullet? Just that time. And to be clear, that was a wig. Just to be clear, that was a wig.
Okay.
That was a hairpiece. Yep. Yes.
All right.
That video makes me laugh. Also, when we made that video, I showed that to my mom, like right after we had made it, because I thought it was hilarious. And she did not approve. She kind of shook her head and sighed. Has your parents ever give you that? Going like, am I the only one that gets those sighs?
It's a mom response.
It's a mom response. She said, and I quote, "Someday you'll regret making videos like that." I'm like, oh, not yet.
Not.
7 years later, how do you feel?
7 years later, so far, so good.
Okay.
Mom,
Still
I'm
proud.
sorry if it's still a disappointment.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Man.
I apologize. I love that stuff. It brings joy to my face. And there's some great people in that video. I love that. Some
I love
memories
those people.
of days gone by. Some good people. Hey, let's talk about this. When we talk about dealing with difficult people, let's not undersell the significance of how difficult it is to deal with somebody when they are talking trash about you,
Oh, man.
when you're getting thrown under the bus.
Right.
I think oftentimes, in my experience, what makes those moments hurt the most is the people that you have gone out of your way to help the most are oftentimes the people who just stab you in the back and treat you the worst.
Yeah.
And that's when it gets personal. Honestly,
It's hard.
that's when it gets really hard to navigate all the emotion of someone who's just gossiping, just saying terrible things about you and just making it all about them. And I think those are the moments where it's so difficult to acknowledge that God asks me in those moments to be like him? Like, how do I be like
Yeah.
Jesus in those moments? And those aren't the fun moments. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Can I just be selfish for a moment and be a jerk right back to them?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be the easy response.
Because the goal would be to ultimately ignore them,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Or
Yes.
confront it either way. But at some point, you got to ignore it or put it in the past.
Yes.
And people like that do everything they can to make sure
Just
that you
keep
cannot
it.
ignore
Yes,
them.
they keep
Yes.
it
Right.
going. They double down.
Yeah.
And in the age of social media, the culture we live in, it's impossible to avoid. And that's
Right.
why it's so important that we acknowledge the advice and the wisdom that Jesus gives us. His instruction is really, you've got to confront it,
Right.
or you got to let it go. You got to be willing to forgive. And I think we have to own that. And I'm serious. Like, it's the most difficult when it's people that you've put the most time and investment in. But
Yeah.
even as a church culture, can we just be honest? It's something that creeps in. Like, even good intentions, gossip creeps in. I remember
Yep.
in the olden days of the church where you'd pass around like what they call it, the friendship pad at an old church I
Oh,
worked
the
at, where you
friendship
write
pad.
down your prayer requests and you
Yeah.
pass it down the aisle, and then everybody reads them. And it came out of prayer requests. People just started gossiping, like, right? It's and you get your small group, and like, think about how it devolves so quickly. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I have a prayer request. Pray for my neighbor's daughter. She's pregnant and she's not married. It's like, oh, really? How did that come about? It's like, just gossip, right? Like,
Yeah.
pray for Peggy's son. He's in prison now. Like, whoa, what had happened there? Like, it's
Breaking news.
yes,
that's what's so.
we fall into that trap.
That's what so many like old churches tend to become. Just like, well, new churches too tend to become
it's
just
all of us.
gossip groups. That's all it
Yes.
is, and it's
Disguised as prayer requests
Yeah.
or
Yes.
the church I was growing up in. It was what we called joys and concerns. It was
joys
Yeah.
and concerns.
pass
I
around,
like it.
pass around the wireless
Yep.
mic in the service.
Oh, a wireless microphone.
Yeah.
This has just raised the bar. Okay, tell me
Oh,
everything.
in the service. Pass around the microphone so that anybody and everybody who desires can raise their hand and just talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
whatever it is they have a joy or a concern about.
Yep.
And some really great things were part of that. And then also sometimes you learned about Sally's bunions, and it was really things that you just didn't want to know about, to be honest with you. So
I will pray for that.
Praying for those bunions. How are those bunions? So what's hilarious is that even out of something that has good intentions, like prayer requests, like,
Yeah.
yes, we want to pray for each
Right.
other. That has the tendency to devolve into gossip and drama.
Sure does.
And I think we just have to be honest with ourselves. Is this something that I'm falling into the trap of? Am I being a gossip? Am I adding to the drama? And then just recognizing that when I become the person that is being talked about, like, how do I respond?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
man, here's the thing. And I mean, we're laughing and there's funny stories, but gossip and the drama, it creates so much division and can create a culture that is so toxic. And to
Yep.
be clear, that is everything that Jesus is against. Like,
yeah.
the last prayer that Jesus prays in the book of John, it's the whole chapter 17. It's right before he's about to be crucified. He is praying, like, the heart of that prayer is for unity in those believers who would
Mhm.
follow him, because he says, by their unity, by their love, you will know them. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, he's the cry of his heart that we are unified, that we don't allow gossip or division to creep in and ruin our testimony, ruin our witness. And so
Mhm.
when I have the discipline and I have the ability in a difficult situation, dealing with a difficult person, to be like Jesus, that matters.
It does.
It allows the light
Yeah.
of Jesus to shine in me. And the advice and the wisdom that Jesus gives us is you have to either confront it, like,
Yeah.
hey, this is a problem, we need to talk, or
Yeah.
you've got to let it go. You've got to
Yeah.
be willing to forgive. And I think that the brilliance of that, I mean, obviously it's Jesus, so it is the ultimate wisdom, but if you don't let it go, all you're doing is allowing roots to grow in your soul for bitterness to grow. And
Yeah.
then it's just a poison to your soul that you're not letting go of. And it's like
Right.
the old adage is bitterness is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. It's like
Mhm.
the only person that loses when you hold on to it is you.
Yeah.
You're allowing that person to live rent free in your head, right?
Sure.
And it's no
Yeah.
good. And so you've got to be willing to confront it, have that difficult conversation, or you've got to let it go. And it's as
Yeah.
simple as that.
I would say, well, I'm a girl, and girls and women, we struggle with this a lot.
That can be a thing.
because girls like to talk. Like,
Yeah.
men like to get together and play a
basically
game
just
or
sports or
some
something. Yeah.
compete or
Yeah.
in some ways, and girls like to sit and talk.
Yeah.
And that's when the gossip can start going.
Sure.
Or so a lot of times, what I have to do if I'm ever in this kind of situation, I have to like really stop and internalize, like,
Yeah.
Is there truth? Like, am I the problem here?
And that's a great question to say in the middle of that pain, like, oh, is there any truth to this?
Right. Or
that's
am I
painful.
contributing to it? And then for me, at least, I go silent for a minute. I think silence speaks really loudly, and I let myself and the other person just be quiet in that moment. And then I can figure out, like, how do I go from here? Do I confront it, or do I just let it go? Yeah. But yeah, I think women they want to attack, when they're in that situation. And so,
and people will, right? They'll use anything and everything against you that they can.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's important. This is something that I learned when I was working at a different church, that the pastor said, do everything you can to live above reproach.
Yeah, that's a good word.
And the point of that is just to say, we want to become more like Jesus. We want to live our lives like Jesus.
Yes.
So that in those moments when it comes down to it, nobody has anything they can use against you.
Yeah,
right. That's
absolutely.
the point of that. We've seen way too many churches go under, pastors of big churches in our country who have been accused of so many wrongdoings.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's be better. Let's live more like Jesus, so that those things aren't even there.
Don't allow yourself to be put in any type of situation where even a hint of anything impure or wrong could be happening. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, I don't know why we fall into this trap. It's just, I guess it's basic human insecurity. But we fall into the trap of, like, I have to push somebody else down, gossip, talk badly about them to make myself feel better, to push myself up. And we've got to avoid that.
Some people want to put the news out there first.
Oh, yes. That's just the way to get attention.
I mean, even like, what is the word I'm looking for? Advertising, like public, like magazines. They always want the headliner.
Yes, got the first scoop. Yep.
And we do that sometimes in our own lives. And, like, you can't do that.
Right. At the expense of friendship and just common decency, right?
Yeah.
Like,
or at the expense of truth.
Yes.
People will do anything and everything in order to put out something first, rather than care whether or not it's actually true.
Right.
So I think, as we land this plane today, I think the reality is if you're dealing with a difficult person, if you're dealing with a drama queen, there's gossip being said about you, how you respond to that matters. And I think what Jesus teaches us is you have to either confront it or you've got to let it go. I love what he says in Matthew 18. I'm just going to read this. It says, if your brother sins, go and show him his fault in private. If he listens to you, you have won your brother. I mean, that's great wisdom. Like, that's a difficult conversation because a lot of us like to avoid conflict. But man, the confrontation in that moment is actually what resolves the conflict.
Sure.
And so you've either got to decide, when someone offends me, is talking badly about me, I'm either going to confront that, we're going to talk about it, or I've got to let it go.
Right.
And I think either way, if you have the conversation, it doesn't go the way you want it to go, you still have to let it go.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I mean, the heart of this is, how do I respond? Well, I respond with forgiveness. I respond as Jesus would.
Yeah.
And I do my best to be a person of character, to rise above it. And I either confront it or I let it go.
Right.
And so when it comes to dealing with the drama queen, as we land the plane today, I just want to encourage you. The bold move, if you're watching today, might be, it's time to confront something. Like, enough's enough. I'm taking enough. It's time to have the conversation. Or you're just going to have to let it go. And I just want to encourage you today. First, don't fall into the trap of being the gossip. Let's just all agree. We don't want to be that person.
Sure.
So that's something you're struggle with. Talk to Jesus about it and figure out a way to avoid that. Why am I doing this? And stop doing it. But man, if you're dealing with that difficult person right now, either confront it, have that difficult conversation, or let it go. Don't let it grow roots. Don't let it make you bitter.
For sure.
Have that heart of Jesus and be willing to forgive. I think that's a bold move. It's not easy. It's not the one we want to always make.
It's hard.
But it's the one that makes everything right.
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the bold move. Listen, you might have to confront it, but you're going to have to let it go either way. So may that be your bold move today. And may that be the way that you deal with a difficult person. Let's get through the drama queen. No more drama queens. Let's get through this.
Let's be done.
Thanks for stopping by. When it's time to make your move, guys, be bold. We'll see you next time.